Welcome to my first video. Today, I'm going to show you the fundamentals and the basics on how to do CQB. Now, you might be asking yourself, what is CQB? Good question. CQB stands for Close Quarter Battle. It's obviously pretty important if you don't know. CQB is using pretty much the safest possible way how to handle a firearm into clearing rooms that might have potential hostiles. So, if this video helps out a ton, if y'all can do me a favor and hit that like button, and maybe if you enjoyed this video so much and you want to see more upcoming videos, just hit that subscribe button. You know it helps out a ton. Please do it. I don't need to beg on my knees now, do I? Alright, and if y'all want to comment down anything else I should do, feel free to do so. Alright, with that all being said, let's dig in. Alright, so the first section out of 3 sections I'm going to be recording of is the basics, right? What do you need to know no matter what, right? So, real quick, we're going to just dig into it. And, yeah. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to teach you is the 2 different types of door placements, right? So, this door right behind me, right? Imagine this just being a square. Right, this area here to there, right? These gray posts. Imagine this being a square. Well, as you can see, the door's on the right side. It's not in the center. It's on the right side, right? With a door that's either on the right side or left side, that is known as a corner fed room, right? A door that's on the middle is a center fed room. Now I can show you what a center fed room is. So real quick, we're just gonna... So as you see here, this is a center fed room. You can see the door is plopped down in the middle of that post and that post. Now, the thing with center fed rooms and corner fed rooms is they're very important, right? You can't really get them mixed up as much, but they're very important when it comes to clearing what's behind the threshold. So, I'm going to show you a couple little easy examples of what pretty much comes when you go into a center fed room and a corner fed room. Alright, so as you can see here, we have a little room. For example, it is a 1x1, pretty much just a little tiny box, kind of like how I described it back where we were over at the doors. Now, this is what I'm going to show you real quick. So, let's do a little change in perspective. Approaching this door, I can see this whole entire corner. Right? We call that a easy corner, where you can see it outside of the threshold. Now, if you go over here, you can see there's a hard corner, is what we call it, where you can't see the full corner outside of the threshold, unless you go inside. So, that's the difference of an easy corner and a hard corner. It is an easy corner can be seen from the threshold, a hard corner cannot. Very important. So as you can see, if we approach the threshold, we cannot see that full corner. As we know, that's a hard corner, right? Now, if that wall was even pushed back more, it would be more difficult to even see an enemy. As of right now, we can kind of see the wall and see if maybe an enemy can fit there or not. From there, we can determine it. But if there was a wall that was pushed back more further, we wouldn't be able to see that corner as much. There, we would have a more difficult time determining if there can be an enemy in that corner. Now, if we also go to the other side, we can see that we can't see the full corner as well, as we know, once again, that that is a hard corner, right? So, when it comes to center-fed rooms, there is usually always 2 hard corners, unlike a corner fed room. Now, this is very important because if you had to determine to go and breach in through a center fed room or a corner fed room that led to the same room, you would know that a corner fed room is much easier. Alright, so something that is very, very, very important is how to clear a room the safest way possible. So, I'm going to show you in the little next clip, the little next cut, how to do exactly that. See right here, we have a door, right? for this purpose, we're going to imagine the door ain't there. How, you ask? Kind of like that, right? Okay, so let's hurry up and get a little different change of view. Okay, so going back to what we learned, right? As we are clearing, we want to pretty much see these corners if anybody's hiding, right? So the first one being that corner, and the second one being this corner, right? Now, as we can see, we can probably determine that nobody's really going to be there, right? In either of the corners. Now, we're going to teach you how to clear the inside properly without being harmed, right? So, the first thing that you got to do, right? You approach the threshold. You check that corner. Then we have something called pine. I'm going to show you what that looks like in two different perspectives. First one being like this. Right? And from doing that, you get a little quick type of scan, right? You can do either slow or quick, but you get a little quick or type of scan in the center to see if there's any people, right? Keeping your reticle from your sight, your weapon sight, and scanning with that as you move along, and then looking on this corner, right? That makes it where you process things at your own speed in which you clear the room. That way you can determine if there's going to be any hostiles, and you get as much information as you can get to perform quickly and effectively. Now, must I say, there is a bunch of mistakes that people make when it comes to safely clearing a room of any sort, right? Whether it be corner fed room or center fed room, right? One of the main things that they do is wrong is they stand in front of the door, right? I'll show you exactly why that's wrong. Alright, so the first one I will be teaching you is how to cut the pie. And what it means by cut the pie is similar like pine, but instead you take little what do you want to call it? Like maybe lags. You want to take like little stops to process it more to your ability. So this might be a little more helpful to people that might not be able to process it at a fast speed like this, and instead they would like to just cut the pie, right? I'll show you what that looks like in a different angle starting now. So as you can see here, me cutting the pie, right? Looking at all of the angles, looking inside, and as much intel as I can get, I'm seeing from the outside of the door frame. Now, what's up next is breaching. I'm not paying for that. Alright, so when it comes to breaching, we, in this game and in military alone, have so many ways to breach. Now, since this is just the basics, I'm going to teach you how to breach pretty much in this game and what you can do in real life if you only have a firearm, a sledgehammer, as you saw previously. Also, I'm still not paying for that door. Alright, so, as you can see, you can take your buttstock like this, put it by the doorknob, closest to the door. It opens just like that. Might take a couple of hits, especially in real life. It's not as simple as the game, but that's a quick way to breach a door. If you also would like to breach it a different way while still being safe, you can breach it like this, which is another way to breach it if you choose so to do that instead. What you're going to do is after you clear the area, you're going to cross over. So you're going to go over there and you're just going to quickly. Now there is another one, right? And they call this the hook, right? So pretty much what you're just going to do is you're going to clear it as you would, and then instead of crossing, you're going to go like this. The first way, you got your gun, right? You clear this little area, and you come across this T intersection, right? What you're going to do is you're going to go on one side, and without passing this wall, you're going to try to get as much information as you can about what you see over there. Then you're going to move over here, get as much information as you can see over here. See if there's any hostiles. Then, what you're going to do is you're going to quickly either choose one of the two areas, and you're going to pretty much just hook around. Check that real quick, and then look left, right? It is very difficult clearing one of these, but this is the proper and most safest way you can. It's not the safest situation doing it just by yourself, but to do it when you have to, this is the safest way you would do it. Now, once again, I'm going to show you what it looks like on the camera. You're going to check all of this. Alright, make sure you don't go past that wall. You're going to go over here, check as much as you can over here without passing that wall. And what you're going to do is you're going to hook, look over there, look behind you, boom. You can go anywhere from that. Now I'm going to show you what it will look like in a center fed room. Right? You'll go to breach the door, not being in front of the door, of course, using the stock. You're going to step back to make sure that any firing that might be coming this way won't touch you, and the walls might prevent the bullets from coming through. Right? You're going to pie to clear the space, and then what you're going to do is you're going to pretty much do the same thing as you did for the corner fed room, where you're going to clear the hard space that doesn't have the door, and then what you're going to do is you're going to go behind the door and then clear. So kind of similar, a little bit different, because you can kind of determine, you know, if there might be someone behind there, whatever, right? So it might be a little bit different, I'm not sure. So, but usually when it comes to center fed rooms, having a door makes a big difference for your own safety. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to use this door as a instance, right? Just a quick example, right? As I taught you before, what you're going to do is you're going to preach up on the door, right? Try to avoid being in the middle of the door, because you saw what happened before. Breach in. You want to step back. You want to step back so then you can clear without any shots being directed towards you. So, to step back would be very important to ensure your own safety into clearing the room, right? So, we'll pie it like we always do, right? Obviously, there's someone right there. I'm not shooting him, but if I was to, I would, right? And then I see there's a hard corner right there. Now, something you saw that was really different was when it comes to a corner fed room, instead of going to the right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the left. But this door right here, just in case there is someone to the right, will give me a split second to act. I'm going to show you what that will look at, like real quick. So, just one quick transition. Okay, so now you can see my perspective, right? You can, after you cleared it, you can, right, clear the dead space, the hard corner, just to make sure nobody's in there. And since that was the easy corner, especially if the door was gone, now what you want to do is you want to look behind the door. All right, because if someone was behind here, they wouldn't see you in that corner unless they, well, did this or went around. But that still gives you a split second, especially when you're doing one-man CQB, to quickly just check that hard corner, check behind the door, and then continue clearing along that. So, pretty simple, right? Now, I'm going to show you what it looks like for a center fed room, and then we're going to move on to different ways you can pretty much enter. Another thing very importantly to note when it comes to CQB is how to compress your weapon to enter the threshold without any collision of the weapon, right? So for example, let's say we're going to hook right here. There's this door right here. We're going to compress it. We're going to move. And then we're going to pretty much have the gun go out as usual, aiming towards the corner, right? So you can either do it that way, or another way you can do it is if this door was gone. So let's say that happened. Let's say this door was gone, or the door was on this side, right? Or pretty much just wherever you're entering from, you're crossing, right? You're not trying to take a hook. What you can do is you can just move straight forward like that. Not much compression, but once you get over there, once you see that corner, you can release the weapon to your full wingspan forward, right? That is very important. I'm also show you what that looks like with a pistol. So, real quick, we're just gonna do a little. Alright, so what we're gonna do, right? We're going to open the door, use our opposite hand, and push it open, right? Then what we're gonna do is while we're on the outside, we're gonna pretty much bring the weapon out all the way to our wingspan forward. Alright. We're going to clear the room as much as possible. The reason why you put it out for a pistol, for those who don't know, it makes it more accurate and lines up the iron sights. When you have it in, well, it's a lot more difficult and it's not going to be more accurate as if you had it out. Right? So, what we're going to do is we're going to clear it. Right? There's a door right here, as you saw. Right? So we're going to go inside. Right, we're going to pretty much put the pistol out, and then we're going to clear as usual. Now, usually it's also a preference of whether you like doing this at certain points or this. Like, for example, I would say like this is something you can do, right? But for the most part, that's something that you can do, is do the simple clearing like this, compression, pistol out all the way. I didn't really do the pistol out. Alright, so I'm going to be pretty much just kind of splitting the video into 3 equal sections. One of them being home defense. For those who might have clicked on the video wondering how to clear their room in a situation where an intruder entered their house, hostile, or maybe just your aunt that's baking cookies, but you have some beef with your aunt, so you just trying to wipe her out entirely. I don't know. But either way, I'm going to teach you how to do it home defense style, right? So, for me, I'm not going to be using anything like flashbangs. I'm not going to be using anything like breaching charges. Just basic essentials, things that you would need. The things that you would probably have for home defense, unless you have a flashbang hanging around. If you do, great, wonderful. So, with the 2 things that I would find in a home defense situation, or other civilians would have in a home defense situation, would be a firearm. If you don't have a firearm, then you can grab a sausage and maybe throw it at the intruder. I don't know. Either way, firearms. Well, the first one I got here is an MK18, pretty much a standard American rifle, right? If you're living in Australia or Germany, then maybe you should click off this video, because I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be using a lot of United States made weapons, right? I might have to teach you how to rack, might have to teach you how to reload if you don't know how to do that. Maybe we can check that out in a different video, but as of right now, I'm going to be teaching you the fundamentals of CQB. So, like I said, we have the MK18, beautiful, wonderful gun, made in the US, and then we got a Glock 22. Cut that out. We got a Glock 22. Beautiful, sexy. Glock is pretty much the standard and most common gun that you would find in a house. So we're going to be doing 2 different sections, right, in this one section. Okay. The first one's going to be pistol, because I know a lot of homeowners have a pistol and not a rifle. The second one will be a rifle, for those homeowners that do have a rifle, but choose to use their rifle over a pistol at some point. Right? If you enjoy this, then keep watching the video. Alright, so as you can see, I'm going to go to where you can breach, right? Now remember, you cannot breach in front of the door. You can move past the door. Just don't breach in front of the door because you're making noise enough to pretty much alarm any enemies. Now when you're in your own house, I believe you ain't going to have a lot of doors locked. And if you do, I believe an enemy wouldn't be in there. So for the purpose of this video, I'm going to pretty much breach beforehand and then go in, unless the door is already unlocked, right? So as you can see here, what you're going to do is you're going to grab on the knob, right? When you don't have to breach a door, you want to grab on the knob. You want to get on the side where the knob is. So for example, you cannot be right here, right? You want to be right here. And with your offhand, if you're using a rifle, what you're going to do is you're going to swing the door open, right? Kind of like this. You're going to step back. You're going to pie. You clear that corner. Like I said, you go behind the door because you get kind of like a split second, and boom, you just clear the room, right, in your own house. Now, just keep in mind, me teaching CQB and home defense does not mean that you have to take the initiative or the responsibility to do CQB and eliminate the intruder or whatever. You can always play the defensive move, but in case you don't want to, in case you might have kids in another room that you're trying to protect, family, whatever. Alright, so let's do a quick example of what it would look like when it comes to home defense CQB. Now here's a difference between home defense and military law enforcement CQB, right? Real quick, just to give you guys a little brief, I'll show you later what I mean. But when it comes to breaching, the tools and the guns and pretty much the armor, whatever, right, is different when it comes to civilians doing home defense and military doing CQB, right? Now, we're not really counting armor because either way, we're trying to do it the safest way as possible. But we're not using anything like riot shields, flashbangs, full automatic ARs, whatever, right? So this will be on semi. Now, as you can see, I have a bunch of different attachments and obviously a different gun. So for those who don't know, this is chambered in 5.56. This is the 416. It's a German-made gun. I got an angle grip on it, a suppressor, and an EOTech, as I had also on the MK18. I forgot to mention that, but I did now, right? Y'all can't beat me up. So, and then as for my sidearm, I do have a Glock 45 with a suppressor, and yeah, it's chambered in 9mm, right? We also got the flashbangs for those who want to see what they look like, and then we got the breaching shotgun. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to show you is pretty much how to breach a door with the door handles this way. Right now, you pretty much could just hit the crap out of the pretty much the door handle right here. The end of the door handle, right? You can either hit that a lot and hope for the best, or there's these door hinges right here. And since we got a 590 breacher shotgun, right, we got pretty much a higher caliber, right, what we're gonna do is, instead of, well, not being able to hit that door or hitting it a bunch of times, we're gonna just shoot these hinges off and then push the door, right? This is very simple for people that's in the military, SWAT, and usually when it comes to like home defense where you don't have these type of tools, it's very difficult to pretty much breach a room that is unfortunately locked and you're on the side of where the door hinges are. So that is something that military CQB has an advantage on, right? Now, another example I can show you is what to do when it's not on the door hinge sides. So, real quick, we're just gonna have to, well, kind of teleport you real quick. So we got a couple of ways you can pretty much breach this door, right? The first one is pretty much putting the muzzle to the knob, right? Or pretty much as much nearest the knob and kind of the little crevice by the door. Once you want to put it level to the knob, you want to pull the trigger. It is the hitbox, I swear. You want to pull the trigger. It's going to swing the door open. And then now you can clear and enter as usual. Alright, this is very easy because when it comes to hitting a door with your buttstock or just maybe even punching the crap out of it like it owes you money, well, instead you can pretty much breach it with just a 590 breacher shotgun because it's more simpler. So another advantage that military have. Now we got another way I'm gonna show you. Right, pretty much the last way I'm gonna show you for now. If y'all have any questions or would like to see a different way to maybe breach or would just want a video of how to breach using all of the breaching tools, we will do that maybe later in the future. But as of right now, I'm going to show you still with the 590 breacher shotgun. You can crouch, right, making it where you're kind of like a little more difficult to see, right? They'd probably think you're up here, instead you're down here. Right, anybody that's on the other side of that door. Instead you can kind of just look over and then shift the door handle like usual. And then clear the room like you would. Right? So, as you saw right there, that's another simple way you can do it. And now we're going to just teach you how to use flashbangs pretty much in the best way possible, making it where you're not wasting a flash. So to pretty much sum it up, the reasons you would use a flashbang is when there's a lot of dead space that you want to clear, or if you have even approached and went through the threshold and there's already gunfire, or if you spot an enemy and you choose that it would be better to use a flashbang. But those are usually the 3 reasons to use a flashbang. If you like, you can always use a flashbang when you're feeling uncertain. But if you want to get the most use out of your flashbangs and not throw a flashbang and there not being anybody in there, well, that's pretty much how you use it. How you use it for a while. Alright, so imagine it like this. Right, I go to open the door, I go to where the door handle is, I open it. Right, I check inside, I see one person, I can quickly retreat, grab a flashbang, bounce it either off the door or just launch it over there. I usually bounce it off the door. Put the gun down to prevent any exposure by just doing this. Just simply exposure of my arm. I just bounce it off. I surrender. The door. Pretty simple. Pretty easy. I would say that it's pretty efficient. Alright, lastly, we can use full auto. Right, when it comes to military CQB, right, and the reason why I'm teaching military CQB is for anybody that wants to play shooter games in general, or might just be in the military, or might have more, availability to use full auto and all these things. Well, now they have a little video, right? So this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna change the perspective, and as you know, I do my little weird transition. But what we're gonna do is we are going to clear this room using full auto. Right, originally for law enforcement and even military, they usually shoot twice, right? But when it comes to higher armed enemies or uncertain about how much shots will pretty much bring someone down, that's when they will use more bullets. Alright, so for me originally, I would use 2 bullets, maybe 3, right? But for this simulation, for this example, we're going to simply be using full auto, right? If you don't know what it sounds like, well, how do I explain it? It sounds like this. Very fun. Sounds like America now, doesn't it? Now, as you can see, what we're going to do, we're going to swing open the door, clear it, one guy down, get this room. Now, when it comes to these types of rooms, I would say that you don't want to be right here, because when the door swings open towards you, you're going to pretty much be in what they call a dead man's corner, right? Where if someone would to shot at the door, you pretty much can't like really run away unless you run over there, right? You put yourself in a bad situation. So this is where breaching comes into play. You go in this corner, try to get as less exposure as you can by also leaning. Shoot the door, reload, and then maybe you can see there's a bunch of area, a bunch of dead space. So you want to throw a flashbang. Throw a flashbang over there. Quickly check over here. Check back over here.
Come on, drop the gun. It's not worth it.
Right. So that's also a really good way to use a flashbang. As you saw, a good way to breach. And that's what you'll usually see in military CQB. Now, we can breach the door. Well, this time we'll use our butt stuck.
This is bad. It shouldn't be here yet.
We heard someone in there, so we could have used another flashbang if I had one. Fortunately, I do not. We can buy the door and then enter. So something as simple as that, you can, clear, use flashbangs, use ways to breach, simply as that. So, alright. Now, for those who do have the game Tactical Assault VR, there is a board that developers have made, right? Very wonderful, very detailed. If you would like to see another view, another example of how to do CQB, you can either get the game, look at this board, $10 to look at a board, right? The game's amazing though. Buy it, right? I'm not sponsored or anything. But either way, right? You can always look at this board, right? If you want, I don't know how much you can see, but you can pause it, maybe zoom in a little bit. I can kind of step out of the way. Right, and this board will give you some examples, some really, really cool diagrams, whatever, right? The two things I did not go over that this door will show you, right, is the high ready and the low ready, right? The high ready is where you go like this, right? Usually before you breach or get to the point where you're aiming down your sights, you usually do this to prevent any muzzle flash, or pretty much keeping the muzzle away from your teammates or anything like that. Alright, a low ready, instead of going like this, you go like this. Right? They have their pros and cons. Me personally, I prefer low ready, but whatever your preference is, you can either choose high ready, low ready. It's got its cons, its pros. So, yeah, up to you guys. Alright, with all being said, I appreciate you guys for watching my first video. If you would like to see a brief explanation on how to do CQB, just let me know in the comments below. And if I missed anything, just let me know. Alright, peace out.